We're at a point where it's decision time. That's what I'm seeing from a lot of chart analysts. Is it starting now? Is it going to be starting rather soon? Well, lots of expectations from reputable chart analysts say yes, actually, absolutely yes. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that in the short term we're going to be thrilled with whatever the hell this move ends up being. You can see that the market's actually been trending down kind of slowly over the last 24 hours. This is a decision-making moment. You could any day wake up and see that the market has plunged dramatically or rocketed to the upside. It's just when volatility gets to the point that it's at right here, and based on what so many chart analysts are saying, when you get to a point where the structure looks like it does right now, this is what precedes something that's a bit more substantial. And we had that failed breakout attempt just a couple days ago where Bitcoin did get up to $74,000, but didn't have enough momentum to fully break through. So it's on the table that we actually could see lows getting closer to the February 5th low, closer to $60,000. Some analysts even think we could go below that. But the good news is, even if that happens, and maybe the price is lower by the time you're watching this, I don't pretend to know. Even if that happens, no chart analysts that I follow say that it would break anything on the higher time frame to the degree that it means, nope, we no longer get to have nice things. We're never going to get to have an alt season. Nothing like that. It would just be short-term price action. This is very clearly a bottoming region. I mean, think about, and it freaking better be. We just went through a more than 50% correction, and we haven't even finished the cycle, haven't even had an alt season yet. So yeah, I would hope that we wouldn't go deeper than this. But even if we do, again, not the end of the world. I do not buy into this concept that we're going to like $20,000, $30,000 Bitcoin. That if that happened, that would get into the territory where I'm like, okay, that's a deep enough correction to count as a bear market. And if time also plays, because time is another factor. If it's not a quick V bounce out of there, well, okay. Because I mean, everybody would agree, if you get a major pullback and then you linger there for like, a year, okay, that's probably a bear market. But if it happens and then you rock it up and then you finally have your alt season, maybe not then. And so time is a factor in determining whether or not something qualifies as a bear market, but of course it's subjective anyway, so what the hell does it matter here? But take a look at this. There's the 24-hour chart for Bitcoin. Here you can see it's just trending down. Here's the 24-hour chart for XRP. Same story. It's like the same damn thing trending down. But you know what else is happening as the market has been trending down? Smart money's taking action. Look at this from chart analyst CW. I'm telling you, those XRP whales getting aquatic AF, all splishy splashy, they are happy to purchase fear from lemming retail speculators. And so here's what CW had to say just this morning. Currently, XRP trading is dominated by big whales, and they are maintaining a buying trend. At prices below $2.40, whales are continuing to buy. Folks, this is on-chain data. It's from on-chain analytics firm CryptoQuant. That's where he got it. This is real life. This is what's happening. I'm telling you, this is the behavior that happens every single time when you get a sell-off. The smart money swoops in to take advantage of the fear because they know that invariably, regardless of how long it takes, the price is going back up. We don't choose when that happens, and even the whales, they don't know for sure. They may have some speculation based on historic precedent, or maybe they're chart guys and they have a feeling for what it may or may not look like. Fine, but nobody knows for sure. They just know with a high level of confidence, they believe with a high level of confidence would be a better way to word it, that yeah, of course it's going up. Of course, ultimately it's going to go up. And these whales do not get wrong-footed, and markets do find bottoms. And it doesn't make sense to be fearful in a moment like this. This is a moment of opportunity for those who wish to accumulate. And many people are taking advantage of that. Here's another one from CW. He said, transactions on the XRP ledger are increasing. In general, in a bear market, investors leave market and transactions decrease. An increase in transactions is a pattern that occurs before a rally. The transaction count, which had been declining since December 2024, is now increasing again. This is a positive signal. So this would be December 2024. You can see what he's talking about. Obviously, it was indeed decreasing, but then you get to 2026 and it's increasing. Well, you know what? That doesn't surprise me since this is just a mid-cycle correction. I do not believe that we're going to end this cycle without having a proper alt season, especially not given the macro backdrop, which I'm not really going to get into in this video. That's not what this particular video is for, but it's all in place still. I'm monitoring all of that on a daily basis, and it just looks beautiful. It's just to think that for the first time in history, macro doesn't matter, and that's not like the primary driver for what happens to risk on assets. That is an absurdity. It's just completely ridiculous. It's a complete misread of what's going on. So I do believe that on the whole, crypto is going to continue to follow global liquidity, even though it's not necessarily going to be tick for tick. It actually follows close to about, like, especially if you're talking about Bitcoin, if you just talk just about Bitcoin, I know that it follows close to 90% of the time, but you will get some decoupling moments. That happens. And it can also happen when the market's to the upside. For instance, even if you're on in a very positive environment where, you know, it's a bunch of extreme greed, you do end up, historically anyway, hitting these moments where crypto just gets ridiculously overbought. It's euphoria, bubbles form, and then they pop. And so that means that sometimes crypto runs its course before like stocks do, for example. So there have been instances where crypto runs up dramatically, even if it didn't start the charge, because usually small cap stocks take off first, but then crypto does catch up. And then it finishes. So it starts late and then finishes first. And then that's it. And then, the other markets will do what they do. But I think that's going to be ahead because it just doesn't make any logical sense for it not to be. So if global liquidity for some black swan reason collapses, then we won't. But outside of that, it's just hard to envision reasons why we won't get there. And there's so many points of confluence, so many reasons to be optimistic. Here's a post from chart analyst Javon Marks, who accurately called XRP breaking out in 2024. He shared this post just this morning, March 7th. He said XRP's pattern setup and breakout process was extremely similar to that 2017 move, and with this being, there is potential we see this overall run unfold in an identical manner. Doing so means that right now is only a temporary pullback before a move well above the $20 mark. And so he knows that this is a moment where it's like, hey, decisions got to be made sooner rather than later. Doesn't mean that we can't go down a little bit lower first, but still full optimism that we're getting into double-digit price territory for XRP this market cycle. There's no change on that whatsoever. And by the way, did I say what time it is? Sometimes I like to mention that when I'm recording videos where I'm talking about the market, just because prices change so fast. And sometimes it can be interesting or useful just to give a point of reference that you know what I'm looking at given the time. Sorry if I'm repeating myself. I don't think I did this video, though. But it is 10:31 p.m. Central Time, which is my time zone here in the United States. Saturday, March 7th, 2026. Oh, and by the way, we lose an hour. Spring forward if you're in the United States and you're doing the whole stupid daylight saving time. Like I would love to make a separate video where all I do is just rant about that. This fucking stupid ass daylight saving time. No, stop doing it. No one there's zero humans on the planet that like it. Stop doing it. It's not useful. It is not useful. Stop it. It really grinds my gears. I don't know if you could tell, but it grinds my gears. So anyway, in case you weren't aware, you're going to lose an hour. But hey, we get more sunlight. I'm for that. So just do that and then just never futz around with that ever again. That would be just fantastic as far as I'm concerned. Here's a post from chart analyst E. Greg Crypto. This is an XRP BTC chart. Now, this is a very long thread with 13 posts. So for the sake of time, I'm not going to run through it, but I'll read the first part here. He says, this chart is extremely important because XRP BTC tells us whether XRP will outperform Bitcoin, not just whether XRP rises in USD. And when you zoom out, a powerful liquidity cycle begins to appear. Okay, now in the end, he does end up noting, and this is the key takeaway as far as I'm concerned, that it's highly probable that XRP will substantially outperform Bitcoin. So that means that this chart's going up through the roof. Now, we have not seen an all-time high for XRP priced in Bitcoin since the first half of 2017, right here where I'm moving my mouse. That was it. And so to think that we had that And that was it for XRP for all of history, for all of eternity. There will never be another time where there's a new all-time high. That doesn't make any damn sense. All up in this bitch, it makes no goddamn sense as far as I'm concerned. We are going to see a new all-time high, I believe. I just don't pretend to know when. So we could see one this cycle before it completes when the alt season begins. But I'll just say this, even if we don't this cycle, which I mean, it's possible, we're going to get pretty damn close. I'd be willing to bet. I think that XRP dominance is going to go through the roof. I think because market dominance right now, it's a little below 4%. And I will not be surprised if it triples or quadruples. I really would not. And then keep in mind that would be happening at a point where the market cap would be much higher if you're talking about an actual alt season finally happening here. And this would be a point where you would expect XRP to substantially outpace Bitcoin. And mind you, all these years, XRP was just trending down against Bitcoin for like 7 years, 8 years. Like, look at this. Look at this. Yeah, actually, it was coming up on 7 years. Bottomed out in November of 2024 around here. Then that election happened, of course, and we rocketed up, and then we went at this new plateau here, moving sideways ever since. So we're at a higher level against Bitcoin than we had been. But we haven't had the fun part where we just blaze to the upside. Wait till alt season comes, because that's when it would make logical sense for that to happen, because XRP is an altcoin. So I don't know. We'll see. Fingers crossed, but I'm very optimistic. Here's a post from this morning from ChartNerd. XRP is squeezing into an apex on the daily time frame. A decisive move is likely to unfold by March 14th. Whew, okay. That is very specific. So we'll see. And I understand why he's saying what he's saying here based on the trend lines that he drew. Typically before you get to the apex of the chart formation, typically you're going to see a breakout one way or another. As far as the timing, though, it's very difficult to actually consistently nail that. But he seems to think that, I mean, I would say this is a key takeaway. You're going to see something sooner rather than later. And that is something that I keep seeing from analyst after analyst after analyst here. And he has warned that it's possible we can go lower before much higher. And I've seen a lot of analysts that I follow warn it's at least possible. Yeah, we could. But none of the analysts that I regularly follow think it's going to happen unless the entire market's tanking. That's for sure. But then there's also this from ChartNerd. He's just citing some key levels for resistance. It'd be $1.80, $2.40, and $2.70. But then for support, as low as 70 cents. So not a guarantee. He's not promising or predicting that it for sure it's going to go that low, but it's something that's still on the table here. So just know that, so that if you wake up and the market's on fire again one day, it's certainly possible. It's like, hey, welcome to crypto. It's just a little thing that happens here from time to time. You don't have to freak out. You don't have to feel bad emotions. Everything's going to be fine. And if you're freaking out, you can just come here. Like, I'm going to be even keeled about this every single day, because I could not be less emotionally disturbed by negative price action, because I know to my core it just does not matter. Price action in and of itself is not an indication that whatever asset you're looking at is going to zero, unless it's a rare instance where it's like a Terra Luna thing, or if there's a rug pull or a scam, or if there's a hole if there's something really, one of those oddball fringe thing. Outside of that, if it's just volatility and the market's going down, it does not matter. It does not matter. I promise you that. It just doesn't. Here's a post from trader JB, XRP USD on the screen here, and he says, all previous wicks, including the one on October 10th, that's the Black Swan event, of course, have been filled down into the demand zone, which is the gray area on the screen. He says, honestly, I don't see much additional downside fuel left if we're still in a higher time frame bullish environment. The first attempt to reclaim $1.61 failed, not surprising, so a retest of $1.25 and the gray zone are now back on the table. For the bullish case to strengthen, price needs to reclaim $1.61 and break the diagonal resistance. That would significantly increase odds of resuming the broader uptrend after 15 plus months of correction. Yeah, I'll just tell you this. It's been a long time, and it has been nice as an XRP holder, even though XRP's down, sure. Other coins got beat way worse, which means XRP, honestly, it's been outperforming the broader market. Maybe you could find some at this point, some coins that have perform better over a specific, more recent time period. But man, XRP's been holding its own, especially throughout 2025. I mean, it hit some new all-time highs, mostly moved sideways in this new plateau. Just love to see that. Where it's hanging out between $2 to $3.65. Incredible to see that at a time where most coins were actually plummeting down like 70, 80, 90%. It's just incredible to see. And so then he wrote, in my view, the current area offers one of the strongest risk-reward setups for higher time frame spot longs with invalidation below the gray demand zone. So he's saying big picture, this looks like an excellent point of opportunity for those who wish to accumulate. And that's me translating that effectively. This is in an attractive moment. He does think big picture. Things are still looking pretty damn good. And then there was also this from Chart Analyst Mustache. He's talking about altcoins, although this is an ETH BTC chart. And he wrote, altcoins, I wouldn't give up here. They're just making you wait longer than ever. The big push for altcoins is coming, in my opinion. And you can see alt season. There's alt season in 2017. Then there was one 4 years later, alt season 2021. And here we are, and it's 2026, half a decade later, and we haven't had that. And it makes logical sense. Raoul Pal was talking about this in 2024 because of when businesses will need to roll the debt based on the longer terms when they refinance during the pandemic. Because of that, you should expect, he believed, that was his whole thesis. That's at the core of it anyway. There's more to say about it, but because of that, it made sense to expect that you were going to see an alt season actually in 2026 or maybe even the beginning part of 2027. And he's been saying that for a very long time. He started talking about that literally years ago at this point. And now that we haven't had an alt season since 2026, more people have glommed onto that. I covered it in 2024. I highlighted it on my channel in 2024 as an interesting thing that we should watch. And here we are. And wouldn't you know it, longer than ever, this is the longest time in history that you've seen. In this case, I know it's an ETH chart, but also even if it were the others chart, altcoins, it'd show basically the same thing, just trending down for years and years and years. Not surprising. In fact, it would just be weird if it doesn't pick up. If we have to wait till like 2030, which is what some of the bears are saying, because 4 years cycle, okay. I would be very surprised. I'll just say that I would be very surprised if that's the case. Here's a post from chart analyst Quentin. He shared this with his 227,000 followers on X. He simply wrote, Bitcoin is at one of the most oversold levels in history. So that's another thing that you would expect towards the bottom of a correction. Look at the RSI down here. Like, it's just tremendously oversold. Doesn't mean that you can't go lower, because oversold conditions can persist for some time, but it does mean that we are in a bottoming region. It makes sense to be optimistic here. That's why I keep saying that. Even though Bitcoin got into the 66,000s today, upper 66,000s as of the time I'm recording this, very obviously the best is yet ahead, my friends. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea.